Brother,
What's good?
how you doing, man?
Hanging in there, man. Crazy world, crazy times.
It's a crazy world and crazy times, man. How you maintain it?
As best as possible, man. I don't want to sit here and lie to you and go, nah, I got this under control. Nah, man, I'm doing it day by day, like everybody else is, yo.
That's all we can do, man. I know you was here before. You chopped it up about some of the crazy times you was having. I'm glad you holding your head. My name is Sonny. I think you spoke to my partner last time.
All right.
So, you know, it's definitely an honor, man. I want to start this off by telling you a kind of funny story, man. Only my dad can attest to.
Okay.
Your song Roxanne was one of the first, probably the first song I knew the lyrics to, like word
Nice.
for word at that time. My dad used to always say he knew hip hop was gonna be crazy because he's like, yo, this 6-year-old is literally walking around here, 7 years old, going crazy over these songs, and I just felt like I was the man, you know what I mean? So it's an honor, brother. We appreciate you. I appreciate you.
Thank you, man. Thank you. Yes, sir. So we are Flatbush.
We are Flatbush, man. We here.
We are, bro.
We are. If you're just tuning in, I want to let you know I'm here with my brother, Kangol Kid from UTFO, the Untouchable Force Organization. I got that right?
Yes, sir.
I got that right?
Yes, you did. Yeah, well done. Good man.
Indeed.
Yeah, well done.
Where you from in Flatbush, brother?
East 49th Street and Linden Boulevard, right on the corner. And if you know East Flatbush, Utica Avenue divides the 50s from the 40s.
Indeed.
So the minute you cross Utica Avenue, first 40th Street is 49th Street. You know, it's right on the corner of Linden and 49th.
And you grew up over there from little?
Yeah, I got there at 11 years old.
Okay.
I moved. I was in East Flatbush. Prior to that, I was in East New York. I was right on the same block as Brookdale Hospital.
Okay. All right. Yeah.
So on Rockaway Parkway, I lived there. And then when I hit 11 years old, we moved to my family's house. I mean, they owned the house while we lived at Rockaway Parkway, but they rented it out. And then years later, they decided, you know, let's move into our.
What years we talking?
I don't know, bro. You're going to have me do math right now.
I know math, but like a ballpark, to early 80s? Mid-80s?
Early 80s, absolutely. I'm going to, you know, yeah, early 80s, man. 80, 81.
Okay. So was it the same type of Flatbush vibe or West Indian? What was the West Indian vibe like?
Oh, absolutely that. No, that was always the case, man. Yeah. When I moved there, it was absolutely all the West Indians, you know, were there. Trinidadians, Guyanese, Jamaicans, you know, you name it, man. I can't think of all of them right now, but they were all there, you know. And my parents are originally from Haiti.
Right.
And so Haiti is the only black island in the West Indies that doesn't speak English.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I'm not referring to DR because that's Spanish, but in terms of the black West Indian, you know, countries out there, that was the only one that was, and because of that, I consider it the lowest on the totem pole because all of the other West Indians can communicate. They all had different dialects, different accents, but they can all communicate. Communicating with a Haitian dude,
it's a whole other language.
You know what I mean? So I considered us the lowest on the totem pole because of that barrier.
Right. I wouldn't think. Wow, I never really thought about it like that with the language difference either. I never really looked at it. I always wondered why. I know back in those times, a lot of people would try to like low key be Haitian, and that you had a name that kind of popped out.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of reasons for that, man.
What do you think that is, man? Other than the language thing.
There's a lot of history that I learned later because I was born and raised in Brooklyn, New York.
Right.
You know what I mean? So in terms of the culture, the only thing I knew of the culture is what my parents presented to me.
Mm-hmm.
We spoke English in the house, but the minute they get pissed off at us, Creole comes out.
Right.
All day. You know what I mean? So I learned, you know, whatever history I could learn from there. We wasn't learning about Haitian history in school. You know what I mean?
When did your parents come here? What year?
They were here about 2 years before I got here.
Okay.
You know,
okay.
So Yeah. So I'll be 54 in August. So we're talking like 56 years ago.
Wow,
You
wow,
know what I mean?
wow.
And so again, you were saying like, why was that in terms of the barrier? In terms of the history, I learned way more than I did, than I knew back then. And the history is Haiti was the first to fight slavery.
That's a
You know what I
fact.
mean? And they
Successful,
got
successful,
successfully, you know what I
successful.
mean? They got together and abolished, they got rid of all of the slave masters and
Yes,
all of the whatever,
yes.
you know what I mean? And so in terms of that history, the world has been trying to make an example of Haiti. Like, we're not gonna let you, keep that win.
Yeah,
You know
right,
what I
right.
mean? And so it's been decades upon decades, centuries or whatever, of trying to make Haiti an example.
Yeah, and that's
You know what I
that's from the
mean?
bigger powers to be, and like you said,
That's
within our own ranks.
right. And so the craziness is me being Haitian, which I didn't understand that there was a line drawn between me and another black dude. You know what I mean?
Right.
That was my first experience of black on black crime, because that's another black person hating on me because I'm from a different area.
Right.
You know what I mean? White people saw us all the same. They didn't care if you was Jamaican, Guyanese,
That's
we were
still to
all
this
black.
day. Right.
You know what I mean? But then the black person was looking at me like I was different. So that was my first experience of black on black crime.
Wow.
You know what I mean? So again, in terms of, why that existed, the rumors, the stereotype,
Stigmas. Yes.
I mean, in terms of religion, sure, they have their religion in terms of, there is the voodoo that exists all
All over
across
the world.
the West Indies.
Yes.
You know what I mean? All over the world. But in the West Indies,
Eastern
the West Indies,
Africa, depending on
right?
what time.
Exactly.
It's a different
Exactly.
spirituality.
But it was magnified like it was a Haitian thing.
Right. That's a fact.
All right. The other thing that was magnified was AIDS.
Right.
We all know.
Propaganda.
We all know.
Yeah.
Come on, bro. I mean, you can do your homework right now and understand where all these diseases came from and how they were set. The same way guns is put in the hood and drugs is put in the hood. Come on, man.
But
we
at
know
that
where
time,
it came
though,
from.
we couldn't do that information. You know what I mean?
Exactly. So at that time, it was being proposed as if Haitians brought that to the world. And so there was so many stereotypes that existed. So as you said earlier, you said down low Haitians. Well, the down low Haitians was because of that black on black crime.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So me getting into hip hop, and we all know hip hop is the only form of music that's recognized as a sport.
Right.
Because rappers battle each other.
Right.
DJs battle each other,
Right.
graffiti artists, breakdancers.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's a sport. And as a sport, you ain't supposed to let your opponent know your weakness.
Right.
If you ain't got a good jab or you whatever, you don't let them know what your weakness is. And so in terms of hip hop, me coming out as the first Haitian in hip hop, come on, man. Even Roxanne Shante told me if I knew you were Haitian back then, those battles would have gone differently. And she's right.
Yeah,
she's right.
It would have been different type of air. It would have been different type of ammo. It would have been received differently by the audience. It would have just been.
Come on, man. All of that, bro. I would have been recognized as that AIDS rapper or that voodoo rapper or that you know what I mean? Come on. You understand how the game is played.
Yeah.
And so there was no way I was sharing that and giving everyone the ammunition to successfully do me in. You know what I mean?
Attempt though. You was nice though. So they would have still had to come with it though.
Yeah, I would have came with it, but I would have gave them the ammunition to also come with it.
I got you.
I'm not giving them that. You are not letting any opponent know you suck in this particular area, because that's the area they're gonna dominate you on.
That's a fact.
You
And was some of this your motives? And because I know you used to break dance as well.
Yes, sir.
So,
I was nice in East Flatbush, man, as the breakdancer and the rapper in the 40s. It took me, a few years later, the whole, East Flatbush knew me as that dude. And again, this is before social media. So it was all word of mouth. When somebody come to a basement jam and they hear me get on the mic or they see me breakdance, wherever, word of mouth, let everyone know, yo, that Kangol Kid, yo, he's nice. You know what I mean?
Right.
So
you come from the side pardon me, the side you come from, there's a lot of talent over there. Spliff Star said, "What up?" He said, "You the big homie."
Spliff, that's baby bro, man.
Definitely.
He know.
Definitely.
He know the hood. He know exactly what it was like during that time.
Yeah, it's a lot of talent coming from on that side, man. From Special Ed,
Yes, sir.
Chip Food, to Chubb Rock, to it's a lot of
yes,
your whole team.
Special Ed,
the rest of UTFO
Whistle.
was from that side, right?
I'm sorry, repeat.
The rest of UTFO was from the same.
Yeah, all of us, Yeah.
And how
we
did
all
you
lived
guys
in
link up?
It started with me and Doc being dancers in the neighborhood. I didn't know his name. I just knew this kid from up the block who was nice with his footwork. And so I introduced myself and show him that I'm nice with the upper half and so on.
Okay.
And we didn't even know each other's names. So it was one of those where whenever I see him, I go, yo, hey, yo, let me show you something. Let me show you a new move I got. And we kept doing that for a minute until Popeye's restaurant opened up in our neighborhood. And this was the first time Popeye's appeared. And so as a promotion, they decided to throw like a little contest, a little talent contest in the store. And they said whoever wins the contest, they would, present them with a prize of a chicken meal. All right, that was the prize, to win a free meal. And so, so word got to me and Doc about the contest. So Doc and I said, yo, let's go over there and get ourselves a meal because we know we can burn, any cats in the neighborhood.
Right.
And so that was the first time that Doc and I performed as a team.
How was?
And we won.
Of course.
We got our chicken.
I wasn't even going to doubt that. I'm sure your belly was full. His belly was full.
Yes. We did well. And so so that was our initial introduction to the neighborhood as a team. And so I was always that popular rapper as well. And so word got back to me about this kid named E, educated rapper in the 50s who was nice. And so there was this cat that we know named Johnny, light-skinned dude, very light-skinned, so we called him White Boy Johnny. So White Boy Johnny knew me and he knew E. So he set it up one day for E and I to meet. So I'm finally meeting educated rapper, which I heard a lot about him. I'm meeting him for the first time. And I said, yo, so let me hear what you can do. And he said, all right, you go first. I said, nah, bro, you go first. And we did that for a minute, and neither one of us went first, right? So he tells me that he's interested in putting a group together, but he can't find anybody who's serious enough. I said, I know exactly what you're talking about. I can't find nobody either, and so on. And so we left it at that. A few weeks later, a friend of mine came to me and Doc and said that he's getting ready to go audition for a neighborhood rap group. And my arrogant ass was like, how dare someone try to form a rap group in my neighborhood without my permission? Right. So I said, I'm going with you so I can burn these cats.
That's the sport that you was talking about.
Exactly that. So we walk down to 55th Street, East 55th. We knock on the door, walking for this audition. Who answers the door? Educated rapper. And I was like, yo, my dude, you serious? You the one holding this audition? And he said, yeah. So I walk in and he has his DJ set up and the turntable all set up. And his DJ was Mixmaster Ice.
Right.
So I said, all right, no excuse, bro. There's a turntable, there's mics. Come on, man, let me hear what you can do. So he went on. He did his thing. I did my thing. We went back and forth for like an hour, just lyrics back and forth. And immediately I was like, this cat is as nice as everyone says. And the feeling was mutual. So he says, yo, man, I think we should do this, man. Like, why don't we just make this group happen? And I said, bet. And he said, look, if we do this, that man on the turntables, that's my DJ. He got to be down. And I said, all right, no problem. We'll see this kid right here. That's my dancing partner.
Right.
He got to be down. All right. And at the time, Dr. Ice was not a rapper. He wasn't a writer at all. So educated rapper says, yo, does he rap? And I said, nah, but we'll write for him. Like, I ain't doing nothing without my dancing partner. And so in the beginning, while we were doing our neighborhood rap routines, we were writing for Doc. But as time went on, Doc got nice on his own. And everything we did from the recording deal, Doc wrote. We ain't never write nothing for Doc after we got that recording. You know what I mean? And so that's how the group formed, man. And so
So how much of it was cultivated in Flatbush? I know you guys did the first audition. You guys met.
It was all in Flatbush.
So then, so all your
It was all
ciphers,
everything I just shared with you took place in Flatbush.
Right.
Took place in East Flatbush.
Right.
You know what I mean? And it's like when I say Flatbush, I understand East Flatbush and Flatbush is connected.
Flatbush I mean Flatbush.
You know what I mean? But East Flatbush, I got to lock down 11203. 11203 is that little section that just blew up, man. It was just, you know, it was forming itself to erupt, and it did.
Did you see it? Did you see it? Did you foresee it? Like history, when history is being made, you just do it. So
no. Yeah, I'm not going to sit here and lie to anybody and say anything that I did was planned. Nothing was planned. Everything was an ambition. You know what I mean? Like it was in me. So I knew I wanted to exercise all those things, right. But there was no plan to this. You know what I mean? And there was nothing prior to us as a blueprint.
What year?
So
what
it wasn't
year
like
talking about though.
I'm gonna say 80, 81, 82.
Okay, so let me just rewind just a little bit and go back to the dancing a little bit. So how did that work? The big homie Jaime, shout out to Jaime, he said to talk about the routines at the block parties and different things like that. How did that work?
No doubt.
Was it ciphers? Was it dance battles? I remember Beach Street, it was like teams, and your team come through. Is that a fact?
It was all of that. Yes, it was teams, it was individuals, it was secret weapons, because everybody had something about their clique that they made sure they didn't do that thing first. You don't say that rap first. You don't do that break move first. You know what I mean? So everyone had their secret weapon. My secret weapon was a dance move, which was like a levitational move. And what would happen is I would fall onto my back slowly, like I would, lay on my back, and I'd lay flat on my back, and then I would rise right up.
Kind of like a limbo, kind of like a limbo kind of.
Yeah, I mean the move, it really came from my thighs, my knees, and my thighs, and it's a way. My mom told me I always sat this particular way when I watched television as a kid. So there was definitely
that was your go-to right there. Not the go-to.
Yeah, that was my go-to.
The end move right there, the knockout.
That was the end move. There was no move that was coming from anyone after I did that move.
I got you.
You know what I mean? So yes, every crew, every dance crew, every rap crew, whatever, had that secret weapon that made them who they were, that everyone knew about. You know what I mean? So be it whatever, if it was a collective routine between the crew, or if it was one particular individual that had a certain rap style or rap or dance move. But those battles, as you see on television, when they address what it was like back then, it really was that.
Right. So now we're talking, you said 81, 82. We're going to step outside of Flatbush for a minute. We're going to just talk about hip-hop at that time. So you doing your thing, y'all battling, y'all hitting the Flatbush block parties, which I'm sure is the livest block parties in New York City. And
yes, sir.
How did hip-hop spread? How did you see it spread? And there was no mixtapes. How did you know that this crew was nice over here and vice versa?
Word of mouth was one. Cassettes was another. Cassettes was major for that, man, because what would happen is there was no major Brooklyn act taking this to that level at the time. The acts that were making it happen were from uptown, Manhattan, and the Bronx. And so in the mecca for that was Harlem World, Disco Fever. You know what I mean? Those were the spots that was bringing that type of, energy. And so those tapes was coming out from those places. So those tapes had, Kumo D, Treacherous 3, the Cold Crush Brothers, Fearless 4, I can't think of Force MCs. You know what I mean? It's like all these cassettes was coming out of those places, and those became homework for us because we understood that those cats were setting those bars. Right. So when those tapes would circulate, if it's a battle between Kumo D and Busy B, or the Cold Crush and the Force MCs or whatever, we got a copy of those cassettes and mimicked our routines around how they did it. So we watch how they did their harmonizing, how the solo cat comes out and kicks his freestyle or whatever he was doing. And so that was outside of Brooklyn for us. And in time, we created that in our area. And you know, UTFO became one of those acts that mimicked what was taking place, you know, in Harlem, uptown.
Like that,
yeah, absolutely.
Got you. Got you. So let me get a Flatbush story from you. It's almost customary that everybody gives a Flatbush story.
Flatbush story, man. Here's an interesting Flatbush story. So right diagonally across the street from me lived Haitian Jack.
Mm-hmm.
And if you are East Flatbush, you know who Jack was in the neighborhood. And Jack's younger brother was a good friend of mine. My parents worked at Brookdale Hospital with Jack's parents.
Mm.
And so so me and Jack's younger brother referred to each other as cousins because we were tight. But Jack wasn't having that. He wasn't comfortable with me saying I'm his cousin or whatever. And so he approached me on that, like, yo, stop saying you're my cousin. And I said, I didn't say I was your cousin. I said I was your brother's cousin, which is stupid. So this is before the career kicked off.
Right.
All right. A few years later, now I'm that dude in my neighborhood in terms of a celebrity.
Now it's cousin.
Right. But now here's how that happened. I said, what was funny is that one day I'm in the neighborhood and I hear someone calling me from a distance, but they're not calling my name. I hear they're calling in my direction. So I turn around to see who's calling me and I hear someone going, yo, 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 Roxanne, Roxanne. And I turn around and it was Jack. That's the only dude who could call me Roxanne with no beef, bro. I will answer to that dude. He can call me whatever.
Yo, a lot of people say a lot about Haitian Jack, man, but I always hear in my travels, in my work with the documentary and all of us, nothing but good things. Solid brother, stand-up guy.
Yo, for real. No, I have, and any cat in our circle, have nothing negative to say about dude, man. He was an honorable dude. You know what I mean? Right. There was an honor on how he got down, and he honored those things. And you could do nothing but respect his gangster. Right. You know what I mean? So hell yeah. I mean, me and him became very good friends, of course, after that. I remember there was a gig during, it was in LA during the, damn, what was that? The All-Stars, you know, NBA All-Stars in LA. And Jack threw one of the biggest parties in LA.
Wow.
Yo, and what's so crazy is that day Jack looked like, what's my man from Casino?
Oh, Sam Rothstein.
Robert De Niro. Robert De Niro, right, from Casino. Yo, he looked like him.
Right.
My man was in a crazy suit,
right,
tie, the whole nine. He was a business dude running the event. And the minute he saw me, he was like, nah, come on in. And mind you, mad celebrities are outside trying to get in. But the minute he saw me, he's like, nah, come on, get in. You know what I mean? Yeah, so it was crazy love, but you had to respect his gangster, bro. And I did, and so did everyone else. Nothing negative to say about dude at all.
That's what's up, man. That's what's up. There's so we're gonna go through a little bit. So you get to the point where you guys record Roxanne. You just mentioned Roxanne. So you guys record Roxanne, and you guys didn't. You guys kind of used the name, right? There was no Roxanne Shantae. There was none of that.
No, there was no Shantae. We totally created that whole thing, and the props for that. The idea sparked from B-Fine of Full Force. Now, as you know, Full Force, the neighborhood band, before Doc and I danced for Houdini, we danced for Full Force. And Full Force became our managers and producers. While we were on tour in Europe with Houdini, they were shopping our demo tape. So when we came home from tour, they had a record deal waiting for us. And that success was instant because of our success with Houdini, dancing and them being in videos, us appearing on Phil Donahue's show, and a bunch of other local television shows that dances. Us getting a recording deal was a no-brainer. So the first song we did with the label was a song called Beats and Rhymes.
Beats and Rhymes.
That did good down south, West Coast. You know, we got a lot of support from that. Time to do our second single. We spent 3 weeks on a song called Hanging Out. And we gave it a little bit of everything, a little melodic hook, and worked on the routine and so on. We put everything into this song. 3 weeks later, we give the song to the record company. record company loves it and says, can you give me something for the B-side? And we're like, come on, man, stop playing, bro. We spent 3 weeks on this, man. This is ready to go. Just put it out. Put an instrumental on the B-side. Just put this out. He was adamant about a B-side. And we were tapped out of ideas. So Be Fine, the Full Force says, you know what? Let's do a song called Roxanne. Out of the blue, just like that. So we said, why Roxanne? And he says, I like the name. Okay. It was, my dude, it was that simple. You have no idea how much of a fluke Roxanne was. It started just like that. So I said, all right, you know, we all said, what do you want us to write about? He said, all right, Kang, I want you to write about how you're trying to get with chick and, you know, you shooting, you know, everything you possibly can shoot at chick, yeah, and she's not feeling you. And at the end of the song, you don't get her. And I said, all right, cool. So he says, E, I want you to do the same. And at the end of the song, you don't get her either. At the end of your verse, you don't get her. He said, Doc, I want you to do the same, but at the end of the verse, you get her. And I was like, hold on. Why he got to get her? Why he got to get her? And he says, all right, fine. Nobody gets her. So we said, all right, well, what beat are we going to do this for? Because Be Fine was the one who orchestrated. He spearheaded all of the UTFO recordings. Okay. So we asked him what beat we going to rap off. He said, we'll come up with something, man. And I said, really? I said, all right, well, look, I got this beat that I've been programming at Howie's crib. Can we use that? Without him even hearing my beat, and this comes to show how much we even cared about this song. He said, I bet we'll use your beat, you know, to kick it off. So then he asked E, what do you want to, you know, rap off? He said, well, I got this routine that I do over Big Beat. Can we use Big Beat? Be Fine said, bet, we'll do Big Beat. And he says, the Doc, I'll program something for you. So we all went home, we came back and did this song in 3 days. Wow. Now we did the pre-production at Howie T's place. And so that's when Be Fine heard my beat for the first time. Boom, 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 boom. That was my program. All right. And so when Doc kicked his verse, Doc's verse said, explain to me really what doctors must do. So Be Fine is a musician. Right. He's in a band. Immediately he said, yo, Howie, I want you to take this turntable and use the turntable as an instrument. Scratch the pattern that Doc just said. So Howie went chick, 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 ah. And that kicked off that whole vibe in Roxanne where each one of us had a different beat and each one of us had a different scratch following our pattern. Oh. So for the first time, a turntable was used as an instrument, not just a random scratching, right, you know, on your part, right, but it was in syncopation with the rap, with the beat. It's the first time it was ever utilized as an instrument. Wow. And so Mixmaster Ice was MIA for the group for a minute. Okay. Like when we did Beats and Rhymes, he wasn't around. And so the day before we did Roxanne, he pops up and goes, yo, I hear you guys are getting ready to go in the studio, do another song. I'm your DJ. I should be on this joint. Right. And I said, yeah, but Howie got this scratch that he did with, you know, with Doc on his joint that you don't know how that scratch go. He said, man, anything Howie can do, I can do. And I said, all right. So I called Doc. I'm like, yo, Ice is back. He wants to be on this and so on. And sure enough, Ice did the scratch exactly like Howie did. So I called Howie. I'm like, look, Mixmaster wants to come in and do the scratch. Are you okay with that? He said, man, I'm good, man. It's all good. And Howie allowed to forfeit his position and let Mixmaster do it. So all the scratches on the song is Mixmaster Ice because he is that nice. Right. You know what I mean? But that chick, 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 ah, that was Be Fine and Howie T. Wow. That created that iconic joint. Well, so Roxanne came out. It came out on the B side of Hanging Out. No one cared about Hanging Out, bro. Nobody cared about Hanging Out. Nobody cared. Everyone gravitated to Roxanne, and we're talking about the top DJs at the time: Red Alert, Chuck Chill Out, Mr. Magic. You know, Marley Marl was Mr. Magic's DJ. All these cats was like, nah, that's the single, and that's what they ran with, and the rest is history, bro. And that's how it pretty much. Well, before you even catch how Roxanne caught it and sent it back, I want to pause a little bit and talk about Full Force, because
Full Force is intricate in Flatbush, man, as far as music and their contribution to music and hip hop, you know, and
now
the list is long with them.
Without taking from them, the two main cats in terms of production and music in East Flatbush was Full Force and Howie T.
Howie T, definitely.
Because Howie T went on and started his own branch. He and I kicked off Whistle, which was our first production. And then after Whistle, he did Chub Rock and, you know, Little Sean and Special Ed.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So both Howie, I don't want to take anything away from anyone. Both Howie and Full Force were both the mecca when it came to production in East Flatbush.
East Flatbush. Yeah, we gotta get with them, man. If y'all out there, y'all listening, man, shout out Popeye, man, line something up. We definitely, man. Give me a Full Force story. I know you spent some time with Full Force. I know those your brothers. Give me a Full Force story.
All right. The way I met Full Force was in Wingate High School, where yes, sir. And I was friends with a dude named Mike. Mike Hughes was like all the members of Full Force, bodybuilder.
Yeah.
All right. And so here I am as a freshman in high school, and I befriended this senior because we were both in shop class together. And what got us to be tight was the fact that both of us danced. So he was a fan of my skills, and I was a fan of his. So without him even knowing, he became my bodyguard because as a freshman, you know, I was fresh meat.
Right.
Okay. Right. But Mike became my dude, and none of these cats was gonna mess with Mike. So that was my bodyguard. So the fact that I had my bodyguard, I was a little bit more arrogant in how I moved.
Right.
And so there was this chick named Lorenza, and you know, I wanted to try to talk to her, and she wouldn't give me the time of day. And so, you know, my whole attitude as a young kid was like, you know, forget you then, you know, that whole thing. And her attitude was, you know, if you continue bothering me, I'm going to get my boyfriend on you. And my mentality is, get your boyfriend. I got my dude, Mike. Ain't nobody messing with Mike. Right. You know what I mean? So a few weeks into this, there's a contest at Wingate High School, a talent show. And I auditioned for the talent show, which I got in immediately. So I rehearsed with the school for a few weeks for the show, and the day of the show, we're using one of the dressing rooms as one of the classrooms as a dressing room. And Mike walks in with B-Fine, and B-Fine is bigger than Mike. So Mike introduces me to B, and I said, you know, how you doing? B had his arms crossed, and he just nodded his head like, you know, what's up? What's up? All right, I ain't pay that no mind. So this is before I went on stage. So they both wished me luck, you know, good luck on your show or whatever. They both walked out. I tore it up, standing ovation, whole nine. After the show, B-Fine comes back to that dressing room, and now he's super talkative. Yo, I didn't know you could dance like that. We need to stay in touch. Let me give you my number. So we exchange numbers. When he walks out, Mike says, yo, man, you're lucky he liked the way you dance, man. He said he came up here to break you in two, bro.
That was the boyfriend.
That was Aretha's boyfriend.
Oh, man.
The chick that I was bothering, that was her boyfriend. That's how I met Full Force, bro. So when he and I hooked up, you know, I'm at his in his garage, and we're doing some dance moves or whatever. And when we got to be a little tight, I finally got the courage up to say, yo, you know, so that day that we met, I understand you was coming up there to see me.
You waited.
He said, oh yeah. Yeah, he kept it real. No, I was so, you know, I was gonna put a hurting on you, bro. You know, he said, but you're lucky I like the way you dance. You seem like a cool kid, and so on. And after that, he introduced me to his brothers, Paul Anthony and Bow-Legged Lou. And as they did shows in the neighborhood, they requested that I dance with them at the show, but they wanted me to dance with their cousin, some kid in Long Island. And me and this kid could never get together and do any routines. So as we got closer to the show, I said, look, man, I got a dance partner and we already got routines. You know, why don't you just let me and my boy, you know, get down? And they wasn't having that. They were like, nah, you fam, you're not having anybody else in unless they fam. And as we got closer to the date and we realized I couldn't hook up with their cousin, they allowed me and Doc to get together and show them what we can do. And when they saw me and Doc routine, it was like, oh man, nah, y'all it.
Yeah, forget about
done deal, y'all it. And so we became their sideshow, when, you know, their sidekicks. Whenever they perform somewhere during intermission on their show, we come out and we do our dance routine, and while they're, you know, playing their instruments. And their manager became our manager. So that's how the business structure began with UTFO and so on. Because mind you, while me and Doc were dancing for full force, we had our neighborhood rap group as well.
Okay.
So when they decided to, when they saw how nice me and Doc was at rapping as well, and they proposed they wanted to produce us, we said, look, as producers, no, as a rap group, there's 2 other members. Okay. We can't do this without them. Right. And there was a few resistance until they finally accepted the other 2.
Seeing your chemistry and how y'all was moving together and all that.
All that. How, and the name that we were generating in the neighborhood.
How important? I mean, I'm a hip hop baby, man. Like I love hip hop from the pure. You know, I'm from the '70s, man. So like I know about graffiti and I know about breakdancing. You know what I'm saying? Like I love graffiti. How important is graffiti and breakdancing to hip hop? You think, man? Like
it all plays a role.
Right.
Graffiti is the scenery that the DJ stands in front of. You know what I mean? When you see that scenery, you know you're in a hip hop atmosphere.
Right.
It ain't just a DJ at a club or a DJ at a wedding. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's like the DJ. So when that DJ is playing at whatever, you know, a customary event, you know,
parking lot.
Right, you know, no, I'm not even talking parking. I'm talking about when it's a formal affair.
Okay.
When a DJ's playing at a wedding or playing at a, you know, birthday party or whatever, that's a different type of DJ. But when that DJ's at a park and that's graffiti around him, that's hip hop.
And it's dancing.
Right, that ain't a wedding. That ain't a, you know, that's not a baby shower.
Nah.
You know what I mean?
You gotta loosen
that
up
right there is hip hop. Right, you know what I mean? So that's hip hop. And so so that's the scenery for the DJ. The rappers complement the DJ. You know what I mean? The DJ is the band, but a band playing with no vocalists, that's just instrumental. Right. So you gotta have the master of ceremony keeping the crowd up while the DJ's doing his thing. You know what I mean? So part of that entertainment is the break dances. So as you ask, how important is it? It's hand in hand.
Right.
You know what I mean? Without one of those elements, you're taking away from, you know, the potency of that, you know, of what you're presenting. So, you know, it's all necessary to say this is a hip hop event that I just attended. Because if it was just a DJ, just a rapper, just a breakdance, you know, that wasn't hip hop in its totality.
Right.
You know what I mean?
No, definitely. I feel you on that, man. I always think the same thing. And people get away from the DJ. Back in the days, people would salute their DJ. Like, oh, it was a song. Everybody had a song about their DJ. Like, so.
You got to. You got to, man. You cannot do that without your band. And that's who he is. He's your one-man band.
One-man band. That's a fact.
And you know how just regular artists are, singers. You know, they finish singing a few songs. Before they bounce, they got to say, and that's so-and-so on the keyboards. That's blah, blah, blah on the drums. You got to show love to your band, bro.
You got to. But, okay, so now you guys got a little bit of everything. You got Mixmaster Ice. He's nice with it, right? You get busy with the feet, you moving and doing your thing, right? So did you guys keep this energy throughout? Did that make it easier, or did that make it creatively more difficult, maybe?
Yes. But mind you, the fact that we were the first, and when I say first, meaning you can count how many rap groups was out before us at that time.
Right, I know.
So anything we did, it became the first time it was ever done in hip hop. Period. Wow. Anything we did, bro. So the fact that Doc and I were the first dancers ever for a rap group. Houdini was the first rap group to ever have dancers. After the 2 of us danced with Houdini, every rap group had to have at least 2 dancers go out.
Right.
You know what I mean? Again, to complete that set when you say hip. You know what I mean? So was it hard for us to do all this? Now, we were just being creative. And the elements that we brought, now, mind you, I didn't grow up saying I wanted to be a rapper because that didn't exist like that. Right. But I was always in my mind, I was always going to become an entertainer.
Got you.
I was always going to be a vocalist. So though I didn't grow up listening to all of these rap groups, I grew up listening to the Jackson 5, to the Silvers, to the Osmond Brothers, to Tom Jones, Engelbert Humperdinck. Y'all don't know who that is. All right. In terms of dancing, of course, Soul Train. You know what I mean? So I watched the, you know, the all those cats doing the boogaloo and all of that. And here's another name I'm gonna throw at y'all that y'all gonna have to go on Google and do some research. Shields and Yarnell. Do you know who that is? Are you Googling it now?
I'm writing it down.
I'll just tell you. It was a man and woman, a white man and woman miming team. All they did was this.
Oh, I remember them. I never knew their names though. I remember them. They had the white
Shields
face and the red.
All of them.
Right.
They looked like they were mannequins. They looked like mannequins.
All that. They would do the
all of that. Right. You remember? Yes. I was a big fan of those of them too, yo. Because the way they moved is how we move when we pop it.
Right.
You know what I mean? So those are the cats that I looked up to. So I was writing songs and singing at talent shows in my elementary school and junior high school before I got into hip hop. So when I got into rapping, that was so easy for me to do, bro, because I was already writing songs. The only thing I didn't have to do now was take those lyrics and do them in a melodic structure. I didn't have to sing those lyrics anymore. All I had to do was sing them on beat. So I was like, oh, that's what rapping is? Right. I got this.
Right.
You know what I mean? So we brought those elements to our group. So while, you know, cats like Force MCs were doing every television theme in their songs, you know what I mean? They would do Gilligan's Island or, you know, Brady Bunch or all of these television themes. They would do a rap routine using those singing themes. And so that was easy for me to do also. I was like, sing?
What was the music?
My lyrics?
What was the music like in your house, though? Like, you grew up in a Haitian household, compa music and the drum game?
Nah, that wasn't us. That was my parents.
So, but did you grow up listening to that, though?
I grew up, yeah, I knew who Tabu Combo was.
Because that's ill, because you came up in a time where you had that, like you said, Jackson 5s, like people playing.
Absolutely, but that was their music. You know what I mean? That we weren't going to parties like that with them in which we were asked to dance to their music.
Right.
You know what I mean? Those were the grown-up events. If we went, we just went to sit down, bro. We wasn't trying to, you know what I mean? We knew our place.
That helped with your music IQ, though, because your music IQ is crazy. Like, the people that you talking about you looked up to is people that put arranged music together. You're dancing from early. This is arranged stuff, bro.
Well, let me share this with you. Back then, you had a choice between AM or FM radio. Right. So I was the dude listening to all those pop songs, bro. I know the Carpenters. You can't tell me anything about a Carpenter hit. You know what I mean? Right. And all these other groups that came out. I was heavily into my pop songwriting and singing. So I didn't really get into my R&B roots until your Jackson 5s. You know, like I missed the Motown era. I wasn't into that like that. I knew some of the songs, but I couldn't tell you who the acts were. It wasn't until Jackson 5 that I knew what Motown was. You know what I mean? And then I started to understand, you know, other labels and the Silvers coming out on their label and, you know, all these other acts. I grew up enjoying all kinds of music. So yes, I incorporated all that into my writing in terms of UTFO, so much so that in terms of us being the first to do things, UTFO is the first rap group to have a successful R&B song under their belt. And that song was called Fairy Tale Lover on the first UTFO album.
Really?
Do some research, write that down too.
Yeah, you know
we performed that. When we performed that song on Soul Train, it was a rap. It was like, oh, these cats are more than just the hippity hoppity dudes. You know, there's talent within these cats.
I saw some pictures of you on Soul Train too. I didn't see the footage, but I saw some pictures. That must have been the connection.
We did Fairy Tale Lover on that joint, and we were on tour with New Edition. And when we started to perform Fairy Tale Lover on New Edition, even they looked at us like, "Yo, you infiltrating now, bruh.
Yeah.
You're supposed to be,
Toes.
you're supposed to be rapping and breakdancing with your DJ.
Right.
What are you doing over here on our side of the fence singing?"
That's amazing, man.
You know what I mean?
That's amazing, man. So, yeah, that's amazing. Well, all right. So
it's crazy. Hold on. Melba Moore, I just got to shout out. Melba Moore just popped in. She's waving at me. What's good, sis? Yeah, man. I'm telling you that. Yes, the history is long like that. You know what I mean? And it's just so crazy to have fans that you were a fan of.
Yes, indeed.
You know what I mean? Yeah, man.
Indeed. Much love, Melba Moore, sis. Indeed, we appreciate you as well.
Yes. You know what I mean? So it's just a wonderful thing to have fans like that. Like, you know, the fact that I became more and more popular and started to meet cats who I never thought would know who the hell I am. Like Tito Jackson. Someone from Epic Records was getting ready to introduce me to Tito, and he goes, "Come on, man, I know who you are, man." And I'm like, "What? A Jackson know me?" Stevie Wonder, bro, same thing when he met me.
Bro, I know you naming some heavyweights, but I want to give you something, man, while you here, man. We appreciate you, bro. Like, we talking about 81, 82. Nobody was making music at that time. We talking about Run DMC. Like, I'm gonna give you your props because you don't even have to give it to yourself. Y'all pioneers, Mount Rushmore. I was 6, 7 years old walking around spitting your bars. My dad was like, I know hip hop was gonna be something because of these guys right here. So
let me just
salute,
you just
bro.
said thank you, bro. You just said something that I gotta share with you in terms of when you just named the acts and you said Run DMC. Now again, Run DMC is an act that, you know, I grew. I mean, when we were dancing first on television, we were dancing to Sucker MCs.
Of course.
You know what I mean?
Of course.
So to meet Run DMC later was like, yo, I'm you know, honored to meet y'all and so on. Now I just finished telling you about the song we did called Fairy Tale Lover.
Right.
Years after the success of Fairy Tale Lover and the success of Run DMC, we're doing a UTFO Greatest Hits album. And one of the ideas I had on the album was to reach out to various celebrities so they can tell us how we influenced them.
Right.
All right. So one of the calls I placed was to Run. That's Big Bro. And I just wanted him to share, you know, a story. Not knowing what story he was going to share with me, bro. You ready for this?
Ready.
My song, Fairy Tale Lover, inspired Run to write Peter Piper, bro.
What?
He said, after hearing me talk about, you know, cow jump over the moon and all these lyrics in my, you know, in the Fairy Tale Lover, he said, nah, I'm going to have to do what UTFO did and write a song using all those fairy tale characters. So you got Peter Piper, Pick Peppers, Humpty Dumpty, you know, fell down. Yo, the fact that he told me I inspired him to write this song that I loved. I love Peter Piper. And this is many years after it blew up and became a classic. I did not know I inspired Run to write that song, bro. So how crazy is that?
That's crazy. That's crazy. That's crazy. That's real right there, man. So you writing, this is historic. You write your song Roxanne. Somewhere over across the Queens Bridge, across the East River. Young lady hears this, Molly, was it Molly Mall, right? Was it Molly?
Yeah, Molly Mall. Yeah, Molly Mall.
He kind of gets hyped. They all put a situation together. They want her to come back. How did they hear that this quick? Was it a mixtape? Did he have it?
Well, no. Well, in terms of the song itself, I just told you, Mr. Magic and Molly Mall ran their radio station. So they already knew the song. I found out years later what really took place. What had happened was my manager had a deal with Mr. Magic. And it was like, you know, one hand washes the other, where we were going to let, he was going to blow up the song, and whatever future gig he had set up, we were going to perform at it at a whatever decent price or whatever they worked out.
Right.
I didn't know anything about this. I found out years later after Mr. Magic passed away, Tyrone Williams, and I had a conversation, and he shared the story with me. And what he said to me was, when it came time for us to be that act, to perform at the Mr. Magic event, we were getting like 3-4 times the amount of money that my manager and them agreed on. You know what I mean? And so my manager couldn't comply to that figure. And Magic was pissed. It's like, yo, we had a deal.
Right.
And so he was so pissed that he shared his festivity with Marley Marl.
Right.
And they were like, yo, we got to do something to diss those cats for what they did to us.
That's what happened with that. I heard, I read, I was researching that. It don't sound like y'all just said they didn't show up. And then, so.
Right. It was right. We didn't show up to whatever it was and so on. And so, so Marley said, I got this chick that I can get that can spit some rhymes and we'll do a diss song on them.
Right.
And that was just a cassette. That wasn't a recording in the studio. That was a cassette done in Marley's crib.
Well, hers, right?
Hers.
Because yours was the B-side to Hanging Out.
No. Right. Well, they used our instrumental.
Right, of course.
They used our instrumental, and they did this cassette, and the cassette played on Mr. Magic's show because he had that access. It was his show. Yeah. And he played it a few times, and it blew up from that. And then they went and got a recording deal from that, because it was making so much noise.
Naturally.
And then our label shut them down and said, you can't use our instrumental. You know what I mean? It's copyright infringement and so on. So they shut that down. So so after shutting that down, So after that took place, they went back in the studio and did it on a whole different track. So Full Force always had the idea to do an answer record. And Shantae beat them to it. So they end up coming out with this other chick that they held auditions for, and they got this chick, and they called her the real Rock.
I was wondering how that played in.
That was an attempt to discredit Shantae by saying she's the fake one. Here's the real one here, and to make her the authentic.
That's a rough one.
I ain't gonna say. Right. So to do this, they had me appear on the song and start it off.
Okay.
So she says, yo, Kangol. And I said, yeah, what's up, girl? I'm the real Roxanne, not Rock Your World. You all stuck up. Why do you say that? So we did that whole thing. And so by me being on that song, the world sees this as, okay, she's the real chick.
Right. Well,
you know what I mean? We validated her.
Well, was that a thing where it was just they had another plan business-wise? They wanted to kind of move with that? Or was it that they just didn't like the first Roxanne?
No, that was a business. That was a business plan. That was a business plan that they shut down. That by Shantae doing it first, it hurt their plan.
Yeah.
Right. You know what I mean? So they did everything to put it back on track by addressing her as the real Roxanne, and and using her to perform with us when we did shows.
Okay.
All in an attempt to validate our relationship.
Well, I think something that's
authenticate.
I think
you're killing me today. I'm done. Yeah, we're done. That ain't happening.
Yeah, I'm surprised you can't get that, man. You said you're the king of Mr. Sophisticator. You can say Mr.
Yeah, I am he,
but not authenticate.
Bruh, I'm gonna keep it real. They say the first thing to go is the mind. I look good. I ain't mad. But 54 in August, it is what it is. Love. 5 grandchildren.
Yes.
It is what it is. You know what I mean? So I ain't got nothing to prove. I don't care if I get tongue tied on the word. So what?
That's a rough one, man. You spit a couple of bars, man. You get a pass on that one, because I can't do that one either, bro. Let me ask you this too. I think this is kind of important. I hope it doesn't cut us off, but if it does, if you don't mind coming back. But
I'll come back, man. Let's talk. This is Flatbush, man. Yeah, come on.
What I was gonna ask you was, I think this is important too, because it was kind of like a rivalry. It's kind of like a beef, so to speak. But I know you and Roxanne, y'all are close. Y'all are really close. I heard you say you guys are close.
Yeah.
How did that develop over time with no internet, no social media?
It took time. First of all, we were both kids. You know what I mean? You got to think about that first. We were both kids. She's younger than us. You know what I mean? Where I think I got her by like 4 years or something. You know what I mean? And so we were both caught in this reel that took place, this wheel or this reel, however you want to look at this, where the beef sold records.
Smart.
You know what I mean? But we took it personal. Now, mind you, we kept it in the ring.
Right.
So it didn't grow to become no Biggie Tupac beef.
Thank God.
You know what I mean? But yeah, thank God. But we kept it in the ring. But the beef was real. And because we were kids and we were manipulated by the big machines,
Right.
we played our role and continued the rivalry. You know what I mean? When we became adults, we got to be a little older, and there was a classic show being put together. And I was going through something personal at the time, and I couldn't make the first rehearsal. And Doc told me that he and Shantae spoke, and he was telling her some of the personal stuff that I was going through. And so when I didn't make that next rehearsal and I saw her, she spoke to me like a friend, like a sister, like, look, I hear you, so-and-so, and gave me some advice, and so-and-so. And we talking like, wow, I never communicated with chick like this before.
Right.
You know what I mean? And at that point, you're realizing, wow, that was some dumbness we was on as kids. You know what I mean? We didn't even have to do what we did. If we were intelligent or mature back then, we could have treated this Roxanne war like WWE.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because those cats,
though. I mean, they say youth is true wisdom on the young, but you
we weren't.
did it, though.
We weren't the machine. They were the machine.
Right.
We were just the athletes,
Players
doing what we were told. The players
right.
in the ring. You know what I mean? If we had understood the machine, I would have had Roxanne cartoon, Roxanne lunchboxes, jewelry, perfume set. You know what I mean? Sneakers, clothing line. If we understood the business at the time.
Well, I know we got like a minute left, right? We're gonna come. I'm gonna disconnect before they disconnect us. But when we come back, I want to talk about the business with you. I want to talk about. I know you into public relations, right?
A little bit of everything, man. I wear many hats. Pun intended.
Business wise, we're gonna get back into Flatbush. I want to talk about.
Let's shut it down right now. Let's shut it down right now, and let's call each other back. Let's make that happen.
Let's go.
Yes, sir.